So, just before this episode starts, letting you guys know, every single time I say the episode number in this video, I call it episode 17 because I put episode 17 in my script, and I labeled everything episode 17 because my main drive had 17 in it, but my drive that I record everything on didn't, so I thought that this was still episode 17. That was my mistake, so just remember every time I say 17, I mean 18, because that's what this episode is. So anyway, let's get started with the episode. So I guess my whole thing about the beginning being like different chunks of a story being told throughout this second part of the season wasn't going to happen, because the beginning of this episode was the same storybook part that we got the first time they started doing this, so I don't know what's going on. Anyway, this is episode 17 of Fire Force, and let's get started. So all told, this was definitely a training-oriented episode, as well as sort of the prep for what's going to happen when, I assume, either Fire Company 8 or a mix of 8, 3, 7, not 3, I'm sorry, 8, 1. There's a lot of different fire companies working together. I'm not going to try to remember all of them. Either way, this is the sort of build-up episode to the planning of the attack on the Evangelist and training so that our new recruits can get stronger, or smarter in Tamaki's case, I guess, I don't know. And we've got some upgrades for some other characters like Best Girl. So yeah, we've got quite a lot of things going on, and we're just going to dive in right away. So there's like a bit at the opening with Arthur hanging a horse's or the mule's head on the wall, and with Hinoa wearing the thing. It was just kind of a pointless opening, honestly. It was to show that we have representatives from different fire companies showing up at Company 8's base, and that Arthur now has a mule's head that's glued on the wall with Hinoa's hat on it. So yeah. Okay, on to the real part of the episode, which is that we now have the representatives from other fire companies, along with Fire Company 8, meeting up to plan what they're going to do for the attack that they want to do on the Evangelist, and kind of comparing notes on what the White Clad is doing. And at this point, all we really know is Hibana's got quite a lot of information on the artificial infernals that have been created by the White Clad. We've got the one guy from Fire Company 1 whose name I can't remember. That's not good. Either way, he's there helping compare notes, and then we have Kandro, who the Fire Company 7 didn't really even think that they existed. The White Clad existed before this, so he's already in the dark and just now catching up to what's going on, so there's that. So they bring up the fact that they were trying to find the pilot light, so those bugs weren't just to create infernals, but to find somebody compatible with this pilot light thing. And we also have the fact that Giovanni was looking for the key to Amaterasu, so they have some sort of plan for Amaterasu, either to take it down or to do something with it. I don't know what exactly. And speaking of Giovanni, we of course have the media trying to cover it up, saying that it was an imposter who was, dressed like Giovanni, and they had somebody stand in for Giovanni at a press conference, and it definitely wasn't him, and Vulcan confirmed that. Which I find it kind of funny that they just wrap the dude's face in bandages to try to cover up the fact that he's not Giovanni. Like, why not actually just put the mask on him? Like, put a mask on him. I would think that would be easier, and whatever. But either way, so Giovanni and a handful of other Fire Company 3 fire soldiers left Fire Company 3, so it's pretty easy to assume that they were probably all from the White Clad. Then we get to what our favorite odd scientist, Mr. Leaked, is doing, and he's over at the workshop talking with Joker. And at this point, I feel like Joker is sort of rooting for Shinra, rooting for Fire Company 8 to do whatever they're doing, but he's so mysterious because we know how powerful he is now. We've seen him face off against Sho, and he clearly thinks that Shinra has quite a lot of potential. I don't know what his game is. I don't know what his end goal is, and it's irritating to me because I want to know what he's all about. Either way, Victor is going around the workshop picking up bits of evidence from the crime scene, and he's talking about how advantageous being in Fire Company 8 is, but he's still interacting with Joker, so I don't know what's going on at this point, but we now know why he was able to show up as quickly as he did to the workshop in the last episode. Either way, yeah, Joker is saying that their best bet for taking on the Evangelist and the White Clad is for Shinra to get stronger. And that makes sense, stands to reason, and so later in this episode, we of course then have Shinra and Arthur training with none other than Fire Company 7's captain. My favorite character, period. I know I keep saying that Maki is best girl, but in terms of my favorite character out of this series, by far, it has to be Shinmon Benimaru. He is my favorite character. Maybe it's just the subtleties of his character that I like. I don't know, maybe. That's just me. And also the fact that, like, he really doesn't, like, he pays attention, but he doesn't care, and he doesn't really hold on to pointless details. So, for example, the fact that he still owes, well, in general, they still owe Fire Company 8 for what they did. And he's like, what do we owe them? Oh, yeah, I guess we do owe them. So I like that about his character. Anyway, so after this little meeting talking about how they need to take on the Evangelist and they need to figure out what's going on to fight the White Clad, they need to train up their soldiers and improve their fighting abilities. And so Benimaru's the man for the job, the best combatant in the entire Fire Force. And he drills in hard, never to let your guard down. He drills that really hard into Shinra and into Arthur by just basically rigorously training them and going after them with everything he has and saying, all right, well, if we're going to fight, try to kill me. And it worked. And throughout this episode, we also have Vulcan adding new equipment to Fire Company 8's roster, which is pretty cool. So he's got the electromagnetic grenade thing that puts fires out, which could be extremely helpful for somebody like Obi. And we have Sputter and Flare from Maki being used for these, like, floating hammer gauntlet things. But getting away from what Vulcan's doing for a minute, we get back to Shinra and Arthur training with Benimaru. And Victor Leaked shows up again, and one of the things that he points out and asks for Benny to show him is that I've called him so many different names. I called him Waka, Shinmon, Benimaru, Benny. The many names of one character, I suppose. I'm just going to call him Waka. That was easiest. So Victor asks Waka to show off how to channel fire into a more refined point and how to make it this sort of jet propulsion-like force. Because we've seen Shinra fly very quickly, but he points out that because of how Shinra has just kind of blasted fire out of his feet in every direction, it's not very efficient. And of course, Waka shows off how to do that, and then the latter portion of this episode is solely around, well, Shinra trying to master that portion of his fire ability, which results in a lot of really funny faces and a lot of weirdness. And of course, Hina and Hika making fun of Shinra the entire time, which was great. Also, I don't really understand, but I also kind of do understand why everybody thinks that Victor is some sort of traitor, there's something else going on. Like, the whole something else going on with him is very obvious. It's just that we don't know exactly what, but it just oozes out of him. And so in that case, Kondro also kind of notices that there's something off about Victor. And and I love this because it's such a self-aware thing to do. He straight up says, like, why does everybody think I'm a traitor? I don't get it. And I just think that's hilarious that they just call attention to that. It's great. But getting back to Shinra, while he's trying to learn how to channel and narrow the fire that he has, he isn't really doing it too well, so he takes a moment to observe what Waka is doing while fighting against Arthur, and he sees Waka using the different hand signals, or not hand signals, but hand gestures and things like that, and we learn more about channeling his energy, channeling his fire, channeling his chi, and it's funny because when Shinra tries to do that, for a split second, something does happen, and that's when he gets Waka's attention, and they sort of start to talk a bit more about how this all works. We also have Tamaki, like I said earlier. Tamaki is learning, I guess, how to also be a sister. So she's got a headband on that says pass or else, but she's taking notes as Iris is teaching her from the Book of Soul, I guess is what she's reading. It's like taking notes on the Bible and stuff like that. Kind of weird, but okay. I guess she's learning to do that in case Iris isn't there so that they can have a pyrokinetic who is also able to put Infernals to rest. Anyway, after that, of course, is when we have Shinra trying the rock out thing and flying a little bit, and Arthur fails an attack. I love the fact that, like, this whole training thing has been Waka just showing how powerful he is and how he has sort of not only mastered his own abilities, but is very good at fighting. Like, he doesn't let his guard down for anything. Anyway, we learn all the different hand gestures that Waka uses and that can be used to channel fire around. And when Shinra uses this, we see finally how fast and how powerful his flames can be. Because right now, he's literally just been fast because he just blasts a bunch of fire out of his feet. Now he actually can direct them a little better. It's also funny, I got a very Naruto vibe from this, from like watching and trying to like, I'm like sitting here trying to do the hand gestures myself and things. It was kind of funny to like try that. I don't know, I haven't done that for a long time since the Jitsu stuff from Naruto, but anyway. And after a day's worth of training, we see Waka definitely was, at least to some degree, enjoying himself in a more subtle way, and we only really know this because of what's brought up by Kandro, talking about how training people worth training is going to be something very fun for Waka to do. And apart from that, we end the day, at least the day of training, with fireworks and watermelon. That, I mean, after a long day's training, I mean, that sounds kind of fun. But then we get into the next day, and we see that Arthur is being taught a different sword style. And Kandro even says that, you know, we'll make a proto-nationalist swordsman out of you yet, because they're learning how to fight, or Arthur rather is learning to fight with a one-sided sword instead of a two-sided sort of halberd sword. And so that's a different fighting style for him to learn, which may make him faster, may make him more efficient. We already know he's a powerhouse, but he's also an idiot, so that doesn't help. Then we see Shinra actually put his new flame ability to the test. And he, from what I could see, surprises and doesn't land a hit, but definitely pushes back Waka. That was really cool to see. And with that, the episode is kind of over. This was a big training episode. We have a ton of stuff that was just sort of thrown in for getting them ready, getting them trained, getting them up to speed on everything. So it's very cool to see how they're going about this. I want to see more, obviously. I always want to see more. And we're into 17 episodes. I still want to see more, and I'm really excited. But this is definitely picking up. I'm very excited. These 2 episodes leading up to this so far have been pretty intense, with a lot of story and a lot of stuff going on, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Either way, guys, let me know in the comments if you guys actually like this Fire Force video. I've been debating on doing some other shows as well, because these definitely aren't watched nearly as much as My Hero or a couple of the other reviews that I do. But hope you guys enjoyed either way, and make sure to like and subscribe and all that stuff, and check out the links in the description. And yeah, otherwise, I'll see you all in the next video. Make sure to be there and have a good one. Hey guys, just hopping in at the end here. Thanks for watching through the whole video. I hope you enjoyed it. I do still have merch. I've actually had it for quite a while, but not a lot of people know about it or care. And so if you guys want to support me or check it out just because it looks cool, go to the link in the description. You can see some of the designs I have, like the Steel Frodo in Steins Gate design, or even the Mob Psycho 100 design, and maybe even buy one if you like it, or don't. I cried myself to sleep at night anyway. So either way, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching again, and I'll see you in the next one.